Hi, today we're going to be looking at Module 6, creating a LUN. To start us off, there's a few tasks involved: licensing and starting iSCSI service, configuring iSCSI for Windows Server, creating a LUN using the System Manager, accessing this LUN from the Windows Server, and then moving a volume containing that LUN. So to start us off, we're going to go into the NetApp vSim virtual machine and we're going to run the command iSCSI status. As you can see, my status is service is running already because mine's set up, but that should tell you that it is unlicensed. So the next command you want to type in is license add, and then the license number. You have to go to the Net71 Moodle page under NetApp vSim, and then the file there. You'll copy the iSCSI license code there and go back into your virtual machine. You'll enter in this code and then go to the client virtual machine to view the System Manager iSCSI service, which should now be up and running. Task 2 involves configuring the iSCSI on Windows Server. So you want to go and open up the virtual machine with your server on and go into the Server Manager. Here we'll open up the Tools selection from the top right window and select the iSCSI Initiator service there. This will bring up the Initiator Properties dialog box. The first time you open up the iSCSI Initiator service, a dialog box will also appear asking you if you want to automatically start the service every time, which you should select yes to. You want to click onto the Configuration tab and you want to copy and remember this initiator name because it comes in use a little later on when we need it for task 3. Next you want to click into the Discoveries tab and then click on the Discovery Portal button. Here you want to enter in the IP address of your storage node controller. Mine is 1.1.1.1 and leave the port as the default number. Next, click the Advanced button. From the local adapter drop-down list, select Microsoft iSCSI Initiator, and then from the Initiator IP drop-down list, select the first interface on your Windows Server. So this is just the IP address of your Windows Server, and then click OK, and OK again to close the Add Target port. After you have completed this, you should be able to click on the Targets tab and notice that it shows one discovered target. In the Targets tab, you'll then want to highlight onto the name of the initiator and then click the Properties button third down below. Once in here, you can just scroll through both tabs above just to view the settings, and that's all you'll do in here. The next thing we'll want to do is bind the storage system and create a new session. Still in the Targets tab, we want to highlight the initiator name again, and this time click the Connect button just below. In the Connect to Target dialog box, we want to select both options of ensure that add this connection to the list of favorite targets is selected, and select enable multipath, and then we click the Advanced button to open another dialog box. Again, from the local adapter drop-down list, we'll select Microsoft iSCSI Initiator again. This time the Initiator IP, we want to select the server's IP address again, and for the target portal IP, we want to select the IP address of our storage node. Again, mine is 1.1.1.1. Click the OK button to save these settings and go back to the Connect to Target dialog box and click OK for this again. As you can see, I am clicking cancel because I've already set this up. Now we move on to task 3, which is using the System Manager to create a LUN. Go to your client virtual machine and open up the System Manager, and then on the left pane we want to click on Storage, and then the next one, LUNs. Here we will select the Create button so we can create a new one and move through the wizard. As you can see, I already have 2 LUNs available because I have created previously. When the Create LUN wizard shows up, the first thing we want to do is click Next and move into the name of the new LUN. Initially this name you would want to just call it LUN1, but because I've already have these available, I'm going to call it LUN5. You can optionally enter in a description if this helps you for identifying purposes, but in the size area we want to enter in 100 megabytes. Make sure that you select the megabytes button and select Windows from the type drop down list. You can also select the thin provision if you would like, but it is not necessary for this lab. Click Next, and then on the LUN container page select Create a New Flexible Volume and click Next, because we want to leave these settings as default, but remember the volume name because this is used later on. On the initiator mapping page we want to click Add Initiator Group button. In the name field, here is the important part. We want to enter the initiator name of the Windows server initiator that we created earlier. This is the name that I asked you to remember and copy down for this purpose. Click the Initiators tab and click Add. In the name field, re-enter that name and click OK, and then Create. Select the new created initiator group and click Next. You want to review the LUN summary page and click Next to create the LUN. Click Finish to complete this wizard. On the LUN Management tab, examine the features of the LUN you've just created. Then we want to repeat these steps for task 3 to create a second LUN, initially called LUN 2. Now we'll move on to task 4 of accessing the LUN from the Windows server. Open up your server virtual machine and go into the Server Manager app. Here we want to use the left pane and click on the File and Storage Services, which should be available to you. Then we want to click on the disks when the expansion is available. Once the disks page shows up, you should be able to see your 2 new disks. We want to be able to right click on these and make them online. If you can't see your disks, the first thing you want to do is go up to the right hand side of the page and click on the task drop down, where you should be able to select an option of rescan the storage, which will hopefully bring up your disks and LUNs. These following tasks you want to do for both your LUN disks that are in the available page, so after you've done the first one, do the same for the second one. Right click on the first LUN and select Bring LUN 1 online. After a while this should have brought the LUN online, and the status should say this. The next thing we want to do is right click on the disk of the same LUN again and then select Initialize. The Initialize dialog box appears with information for the disk. Verify that the master boot record partition style is selected for both LUNs, because you created both LUNs with this partition style, and click OK. If you're unable to initialize the LUN disk, the first thing you want to do is go back and resize the LUN so it has 200 megabytes, which will allow you to be able to initialize this disk again. Again, you want to right click on the new disk and select New Volume from the drop down. The new volume wizard appears. In this task you provision the LUN with a new volume. So on the first page click Next. On the Specify Volume page, choose the maximum possible size and click Next. You want to assign an available drive letter such as E or F and click Next. You want to select and format the LUN with the following settings from the File System drop down list. Select NTFS and click Next. And then complete and finish this LUN creation of initializing. Now, as you can see back up on the right hand side of the picture, I'm in my vSim entering the command for task 5 of moving a volume that contains a LUN. The command is export fs-z /vol / the name of the new LUN created. Quickly go back into your Windows server and start a copy of several files inside the LUN mapped drive just for testing purposes. Now back in the vSim virtual machine, we want to start the move, moving the LUN originally from aggregate 0 to aggregate 1. So the command is vol move start, the LUN name, and then the new aggregate name it's moving to. I won't enter in this command because I've already done this, so here I'll just backspace that up. After you've run this command, it should take some time to move from one aggregate to another. When the move is complete, you want to verify that you can still access the LUN on your Windows server. You can also check the status of the move operation with the command vol move status, LUN name, and then v. The next step we want to do is moving the volume that contains this LUN back to the aggregate where we have just moved it from, but with a manual move this time. So now we enter in the command to the vSim virtual machine vol move start, the LUN name, the previous old aggregate name you want to move it back to, and then -m for manual move. In this example, I will actually run the command and show you some of the things that happen. So I tried to move it back to the aggregate, but because I hadn't entered the correct LUN name, it came up with an error. So again, you want to be careful with that. Another option I wanted to show you was to make sure that you move to an aggregate where it's not currently on, which is the new error that came up. So you want, if this happens, just change to the previous aggregate. The error message easily tells you this, so it's not like you'll have to go out and find what the error actually means. After you've run this command, you basically want to see here that it starts, and several things happen because it's a manual move. You want to go into your maps drive of the LUN and again start copying over several files just for testing purposes. Back in the vSim console, you want to type the command vol move cutover /volume / the LUN name. This is because it's a manual move, you need to do this. So now, when the move is complete, you want to make sure that you can still access and do things inside of the LUN. So go back into your maps drive and just start deleting or copying or something just to make sure. That's it for this lab, and I'd just like to thank you for viewing. And yeah, the recap of creating a LUN, accessing this LUN from the Windows server. Yeah, cheers.